Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. April 16th, 2018.
The Kuhner Report is powered by Kelly Financial Services. Cleaning up your financial bull. Get the peace of mind that you deserve at Kelly Financial Services.
It is the Kuhner Report. Sadly, perhaps, this is Vinnie Penn filling in for Jeff on the Kuhner Report today, tomorrow. Very excited to be here on the great RKO. I got my man Jared Diglio. I got a Diglio on the board for me there, Boston, and it's just a dream come true to be filling in for Jeff today, tomorrow. I trolled his Twitter page all weekend just to make sure I can run a thread from this past Friday through these next 2 days. I didn't see a damn page I don't share with Mr. Kuhner. Looking forward and would love to hear from you. 617-266-6868. Again, my name is Vinnie Penn. You tweet at me, at Vinnie Penn, and there's more than enough to talk about, is there not? I was excited to come on, especially, Patriots Day, only to find out the dubious honor of the first Patriots Day Red Sox game, Patriots Day game rained out since 1984, since I graduated high school. So I feel like I might have brought a bit of a dark cloud with me, and I apologize in advance for that. But much to get to, a couple special guests, a couple of tricks up my sleeve. We will be joined shortly by NBC News Radio national correspondent Bill Zimfer to get the latest on Syria. We knew last week would end. Well, not all of us. It's increasingly difficult in America to use, in today's America, to use the word we for some reason, and our. I find that troublesome because it should be. It should be we. It should be our. Agreement, disagreement, notwithstanding. Some thought maybe it was bombast. It was theatrics, and much like his predecessor, Trump was just drawing a line in the sand and had no intentions on stepping over that line. Much like Ronald Reagan and the infamous, they counted on America to be passive. They counted wrong. He drew that line. We stepped over that line. With Mattis to his right, I was certain all along that this would happen. In the meantime, there are many on the left who'd like to say, smokescreen. It's only to distract from the porn star scandal. It's only to distract from the collusion. These guys, him and Putin, they're boys. They're best buds. These two do not interact like they're ever going to get along. I was one of the few, when Putin was interviewed by Megyn Kelly, I was one of the few conservative hosts who, I thought it was a great interview. I particularly liked the moment where he said, "You Americans, you have such imagination. You come up with these stories." And it seemed like he was feeling the same frustration as I, like, what is this collusion? What is this all about? And I thought the possibility existed that he and Trump could, despite our penchant for coming up with these theories, I thought they could get along. Now I'm not so sure. Now I don't even know if I want Trump to. Now I'm kind of tiring of the shirtless, horseback riding with a spear in his hand, Putin. And last night, he's the one who drew the line in the sand. And we stepped over it, and he said, "Now I'm drawing another one." Or what was the old thing? He'll put the battery on his shoulder. "I dare you to knock the battery off." Knock the battery off, picks it up, puts "I dare you to do it a second time." Last night he said there would be chaos if we went any farther. But of all this talk of the possibility of smoke screens, distractions, I think the biggest distraction of them all is coming from James Comey. I mean, we've got some important business on our hands, sir. You've got a book to sell. I appreciate it. I appreciate that fact. Although, to tell you the truth, I find it a bit disconcerting that anyone who's ever been with the FBI could write a tell-all. Never mind run the damn thing. It's less than a year later. It's less than a year out from losing the gig. And he feels, and his publisher feels, and so many other people feel, his tell-all is timely. Comes out tomorrow, a higher loyalty. I don't know what that higher than your country. James Comey was somebody I did think had a dignity. I don't know who he thinks is left standing. He used to be able to fill an arena, and then he cost her the election. So now he's playing clubs. Now he's down to the Orpheum. I'll give you a Boston reference. But even the left this weekend is watching him in interviews and feeling fairly confident. You're handing Trump another 4 years. A tell-all from somebody in the FBI. You die with those secrets. With what you did, what you saw, what you know. He thinks it's supposed to matter to us that we are supposed to be comfortable that our president is medically fit, physically fit, but mentally unfit. Perfect time. No. I wanted to hear after 45 said, that's it. These people are monsters. These missiles are flying. I wanted to hear within 24 hours on national television, the former director of the FBI saying, I don't think mentally he's not all there. Oh, good. Because there aren't enough people here in the country that could send over the edge. We don't have a million whack jobs among us ready to go. Look at the guy in Las Vegas. Oh, no, that's right. We never got any answers on that. We don't even know who the hell that guy was. We just moved on from that one. You think Comey would feel culpability there? A responsibility? I hesitate to use the word complicit. You think Comey would be, you know what? Now's not the time for the tell-all. One of his quotes as he sat down with ABC's George Stephanopoulos, who I believe conducted yet another entire interview with his legs crossed in a way that just doesn't scream all that comfortable. I liken President Trump in the book to a forest fire. Well, all right, Mr. Comey, that's very patriotic of you. He went on to say, going to do tremendous damage, going to damage important norms. But a forest fire gives healthy things a chance to grow that had no chance before that fire. Now, to be perfectly honest with you and give you a little insight, as far as your fill-in host, Vinnie Penn, that I have no idea what the hell that means. Forest fires give healthy things a chance to grow that had no chance before that fire. I don't know what those things... What are those things? Lung cancer? But this is what we allow. This is what we allow to distract us. And net huge ratings. I'd like to see the journalist who's like, I'm passing on that interview now. I'm rescheduling it. I'm not going to air it now. We just went at Syria. We've got Britain. We've got France with us. I'm not going to do it. Instead, it's all about the sit down, the first sit down. And it's very disconcerting. Never mind, above and beyond that, the mainstream media has decided to run with, can you believe Trump's audacity? He said mission accomplished. He's celebrating the military because they'll never say our military. When did mission accomplished When did that term take on a negative connotation? I am perplexed. The great RKO, yes. There are so many radio hosts out there these days who have all the answers. Today, you've got someone who's really only got a ton of questions. To that end, let's head to the phones right now and get ready to welcome to the show and give us an update. Best update we can get right now. NBC News Radio national correspondent Bill Zimford. We've got a very interesting day, week, month. Who knows how long coming our way. Let's go to the phones right now. NBC News Radio national correspondent Bill Zimfer, the latest on Syria. It's interesting, Bill. I want to come right at you. One of the hits that Obama took was he drew this line in the sand and said, don't cross it. Syria did. Now it seems as if Putin is pulling an Obama of don't do anything. We did. Well, don't do anything again.
Yeah, that's it. You know what? I think that it's obvious that Russia blinked in this whole situation. Had been threatening to shoot down missiles coming in. Of course, they said they did intercept 71 missiles. I don't think that happened. If you look at the battle damage assessment of these targets that were on the list for the United States, they're pretty much gone at this point. So Russia definitely blinked here, and I think the next step is going to be interesting, Vinnie, because the next step in this whole situation is going to be the most important to me because this strike, even though it involved over 100 missiles and several different targets this time, not a whole lot different from the last time around because Bashar al-Assad is still in power. He is still going to be battling his own people. He's still going to be killing his own people. Whether he uses chemical weapons is another question, but still, it's a similar situation in Syria.
Yeah. Bill, can you speak to the fact that there are many on the left, many in the media who are still prone to say, though, collusion exists. You look at Trump and Putin, obviously at odds here, and yet that narrative continues. Some even continue with the narrative of Trump did this just to take the onus off the whole Stormy thing. Oh, him and Mattis, they sat down and said, okay, 105 missiles, so the nation would stop talking about a porn star. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It's not the old Wizard of Oz technique. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. And what has come to light now is apparently Emmanuel Macron of France played a bigger role in this than we initially thought. We knew that France was ready to join the United States in a coalition, but Macron says he actually talked President Trump into keeping troops there and leads you to believe that he may have been near the front of this coalition effort to get everything done here. So to say that President Trump wanted to do this as a diversion, and hey, right now he is staring in a staring match with Vladimir Putin. At last report, Putin blinked. So to say that there's collusion, continuing collusion, I think is a little ludicrous.
Yeah, and again, we are on with NBC News Radio national correspondent Bill Zimfer. Maybe sometimes I think that could just be those who need to believe that, because actually there's a nervousness because this USSR butting of the heads has hung in the my entire life has been this is going to be bad, this is going to make World War II look like a birthday party. So maybe some need to believe that it's there's something else at play here, because deep down inside they're terrified. I'm comfortable expressing this is scary stuff. I have an 11-year-old son. This is scary stuff. And yet we've got a president who tweets out mission accomplished, and a media can you believe the audacity? He's applauding the U.S. military. What gall? I don't know what to make of it. Kind of strange, that whole situation and the whole back and forth over the weekend. But I think a lot of this talk about collusion between President Trump and Russia had to do with the fact that the president was a little bit reluctant to directly criticize Vladimir Putin, but that has changed. I mean, especially over the last couple of weeks or so, he has called him out, and he will continue to do that. But my question, Vinny, is what's going to change
in Syria,
Yes.
because you still have a half dozen factions fighting on the ground. You still have the same dictator type of leader in Syria. So will the United States continue, as the president says, are we prepared to sustain our response until the regime stops the use of prohibited chemical weapons, which they have denied using in the first place?
Yeah, I know, because the leader of Hezbollah said last night that these strikes on Syria failed to achieve anything. But that might be their narrative, that's to dissuade us.
Sure.
And nice to have Britain as an ally. You think that would speak volumes to Russia, to the world. I hope that it does. Never mind France. I don't know. For some reason, France is always this kind of afterthought of,
I know.
they're coming along. Good, nice to have them. But you think that these allies, it would speak to the world. It would have a global resonance. I don't know if it does.
Well, I think it does. It seems like most of the world has come forth behind the United States, the UK, and France on this. I'm talking about, of course, Israel is going to be right there. Turkey came out in support of the strikes, which is interesting because Turkey has forces in Syria fighting against a rebel group that the United States is backing. Germany, which did not get involved militarily, backing everything. The EU, Australia, of course. So I think there's a lot of global support for this and global interest in what's going on, of course.
Great stuff. Great stuff. NBC News Radio national correspondent Bill Zimper. We'll talk again later this week.
You got it, Vinnie. Thanks.
You got it. Again, it's Vinnie Penn filling in for Jeff on the Kuhner Report on the great RKO. Hey, everyone. My name is Vinnie Penn. Today on my show over in neighboring Connecticut, the Vinnie Penn Project, but sitting in for Jeff today and tomorrow on the Kuhner Report on the great RKO, and I can't tell you how excited I am. We are at 617-266-6868. Happy to hear from you. Some welcomes, some go-aways, some never come back, some stay forevers. Let's hop on the phone right now and check in. I believe we could start off with Andy, who's got a few comments as far as Syria is concerned, saying there's no way to prove it was Assad. That's an interesting vantage point, Andy.
I think, well, first of all, do you know the name of the group that was holding Duma before the Syrian army came in?
Go, school me, go.
It was Jaish al-Islam, and they've claimed responsibility for chemical weapons attacks against the Kurds.
Yeah. I've often, Andy, really quickly, I've often thought, ISIS plays that way, too. Sometimes they claim responsibility. It's a scare tactic. It's not necessarily true.
Jaish al-Islam is just another ISIS, but they've shown themselves on video committing the chemical weapons attacks.
Interesting stuff.
I'm not defending Assad's moral character, but if you have a choice between Assad and then ISIS, al-Nusra, Jaish al-Islam, and the FSA, whose commanders say they work with ISIS, I think the choice is pretty clear. And the white helmets, these supposed good guys on the ground, they have been on video faking attacks. They did it, called it the hashtag mannequin challenge, and they've been caught on video celebrating with al-Nusra.
I'm kind of exhausted with the whole challenge, this challenge and that challenge. But Andy, I sure do appreciate the call. As far as this one taking responsibility, is this legit? What about this video over here? I mean, you have Theresa May herself saying this was legally and morally right, specifically for the UK to join in the strikes against the Syrian regime. She says, this is it. As far we need to prevent further human suffering. The cooler head prevailing, perhaps. I'd love to jump around, Jared. I hate to show preferential treatment, but why don't we go to my man Vinnie out of Quincy, who believes Comey is a traitor. Traitor works for me, Vinnie, and welcome to the show. Good to have another Vinnie on. And he's a traitor in so many other things, but take it away.
Yeah, he's a big traitor, man, because I'm a KKK, and I believe in right on for our country. KKK.
What is it? That didn't sound anything like a Vinnie as far as I'm concerned there. Just goofball territory. If you don't think... I have to tell you the truth. Traitor didn't necessary. It works, but he's a guy falling from grace, and that free fall I've experienced. I've had my free falls, my public humiliations. I think there was a time when James Comey, when he was trying to call it and be fair. I know this seems picking and choosing. And there are many on the left right now saying, oh, you don't like his timing this weekend, or the timing of his book. But his timing was fine 15 days before the election, or however many days it was. All right, nice, well played, checkmate. Bad timing all the way around. And I do think initially it felt this way anyway, that Comey was being fueled by, I've got a moral obligation to let our country know. When it comes to a higher loyalty, his book, he may feel the same. Country needs to know, and maybe even needs to know as far as he's concerned before the next election, but not less than a year out from being ceremoniously blown out. It's just sour grapes. They're just grapes of wrath. Again, this is Vinnie Penn filling in for Jeff on the Kuhner Report. We'll take a break right now, but tons to get to on Patriots Day. I appreciate you coming along for the ride. We'll be right back.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Well, if ever there was an actor who made me squirmy, it had to be R. Lee Ermey. He didn't just deliver his lines, he made a racket, especially in Full Metal Jacket. Okay, so my favorite role of his was in Saving Silverman with Jack Black. There, I said it. Can't be taken back. We lost Ermey Sunday at the age of 74. We won't get those spittle-laden monologues anymore. He wasn't the actor who ended the film with the chick, especially when the director was Stanley Kubrick. So rest in peace, R. Lee Ermey, a Vietnam vet. You're an actor we won't soon forget. It's Vinnie Penn coming at you, filling in for Jeff on the Kuhner Report. I don't know, does Jeff occasionally get poetic with the great RKO listeners? I mean, Jared, is he prone to Robert Frost moments? Does he deliver some poetry that he's written himself?
He's a great orator, but the iambic pentameter sometimes evades his grasp.
Well done, Jared. Well done right there. I did one of Jeff's, who's off this week. I'll be sitting in today and tomorrow. One of his tweets last week really caught my eye with regard to the Cohen, the raid on his office, and just how dangerous that really is in the big scheme of things. And I know he came at you all loud and clear on that. A bit later on in today's show, I've got an attorney who's going to not only back that up, but with some real jarring specifics. But just as far as what did you call it again? The iambic? What was that?
Iambic pentameter.
Pentameter. You think I would know that? That was a little nod to the passing of R. Lee Ermey from Full Metal Jacket, a Vietnam vet. Interestingly, the reason I revisit that, I circle back round to that, is I had heard earlier this morning, I made a comment on my radio show, my morning show, the Vinnie Penn Project over here in Connecticut, and found out, because I had acknowledged this film, Saving Silverman, he played kind of a send-up of his character from Full Metal Jacket, and how it didn't seem like a move he might necessarily make, but it was very comedic, and I enjoyed it with Jack Black and a couple other Steve Zahn, funny actors. And I was told that's because there was such a backlash, because who he played on screen, he NRA, he's a proud member, he's outspoken, and the offers that came in were lesser and lesser. The more Hollywood seemed to find out these aren't great leaps. This is kind of who the man is. No matter how great the performance, Golden Globe nominated for Full Metal Jacket, that's it. I struggle with that so much. Your ideology, your belief, there are so many who don't even have one, who are fueled by nothing, those who feel passion, who love this country or whatever fuels them and drives them to be chastised, punished for that's just dumbfounding to me. Interesting piece I looked at in the New Yorker, too, as far as our military is concerned, and that Trump is finally learning the dangers of military might. No, I think he's revisiting our military, which has just been all but ignored, stripped of funding. He's back to celebrating. I mean, he's saying mission accomplished. He's got Mattis alongside him. They need our support now more than ever, not more questions and ambivalence. Let's get back to the phones, though. It is 617-266-6868. Again, my name is Vinnie Penn. You can tweet at me at Vinnie Penn. But why don't we go to Russ, who wants to talk the mainstream media talking heads. I'm with you. Russ, I appreciate you hanging in there for the last couple of minutes.
Well, thank you, Vinny. Also, I want to comment on the other issues on the table. First of all, for 50 years, I have hated the so-called mainstream media.
That long?
They don't report the news. They create the news. And as far as I'm concerned, they have no credibility. Now, when you say that long, I have to tell you why. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and for 5 years after returning to the United States, I could not listen or watch the news because I know it was distorted and the truth was not getting out. And that's how disgusted that I was with them. And then today, I've turned off the news too many times because I can't stand the anti-Trump propaganda, which is not true at all. But now I want to move on to as far as Putin is concerned. Look, there was no doubt in my mind that Putin was going to blink, and I'll tell you why. First of all, a major war will bankrupt Russia. There's no question about it. It also needs that pipeline from Russia into Germany, that gas pipeline. And if there was a major war, they surely wouldn't get the gas pipeline. Now, they are hurting because the cost of energy is down. And surely it's no thanks to the environmental Nazis that the cost of energy is down across the globe, which works well for all of us. And myself, I've calculated with the reduced cost of energy, I save somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000 a year. So, I'm very happy with what's going on. And if there's anyone that can turn this country around, it's Donald Trump. Because the filthy, rotten, entrenched Republicans, the filthy, rotten, entrenched Democrats are nothing but self-serving prostitutes who legally get away with insider trading. And that's the scam that's gone on for many years.
Yeah, well, Russ, on the one hand, I think that's fantastic, your diatribe right there. On the other, it was so good. I worry. I am doing fill-in here. I mean, that's good radio you just did right there. The one thing I would struggle with, though, is if I'm understanding you correctly, your thought process is Putin. It's for financial reasons, for energy, for this reason and that. I think this guy is a narcissist, and he doesn't want to be seen globally as, wow, this Trump stood up to me. I think that ego is fragile, and I don't know what his reaction's going to be, but I think it's going to be a very real one. I just don't know what or when.
The one thing, first of all, I respect the man as being extremely brilliant. There is no question about that. But unfortunately, he does not have the strength. I'm talking militarily now. Because remember now, all those Baltic states that were once under his control, Russia's control, are no longer under their control. And there's no question, they don't have the buffer zone that they wanted after World War II. They no longer have that buffer zone. Just think of all those countries turned against them. And believe me when I say this, the Holocaust will not happen again for one big reason, is that the people will not stand for it. When I say they won't stand for it, They'll mine railroad lines. They'll do everything to disrupt the war effort. They'll never get away with what the Nazis got away with during World War II. Will never happen again. And believe me, Putin understands and knows all of that, and that's why he does not want a major war. He'll utilize his surrogates from time to time, but he's not going to get in a major war with the United States, especially when you have all the NATO countries with the United States. Virtually impossible. Be a stupid move.
All right. Russ, I appreciate it. Thanks for calling in. Again, we are at 617-266-6868. My name is Vinnie Penn. You can tweet at me. Oh, I suppose I should say this, at Vinnie Penn, but I do VINNIEPENN, much to my father's chagrin. He thought it should be VINNY. We've got another Vinny, and I don't know, Jared, if you typed this mistakenly, or did this Vinny also say he's an IE? Because I see Vinny IE on line 3 right now. If we can grab that call. Vin, you there, bud?
Yeah, Vinny, how you doing?
Are you an IE?
IE?
Vinny IE or Vinny with a Y?
No, IE.
I'm a man just like me. I appreciate it. Now, you think
that wasn't my doing, though, huh?
What's that?
That wasn't my doing, the IE.
Oh, I guess it was mine. I started, I ran with it.
I went with the Y, but my dad slapped me in the head. So anyway.
Yeah,
of course he did. Anyway, the reason I'm calling is because, first off, I'm a Vietnam-era vet, too. And, that last caller, she's right on the money. But you know something? If you think about it, nobody's talked about Bashar al-Assad being protector of the Christians in Syria. Why is that?
You tell me.
Okay.
What makes you even think they are?
He is. There's a lot of big churches in Aleppo.
Sure.
So nobody's talking. Everybody thinks he's. None of these guys are great, Vinny. Come on.
I saw an interesting conversation taking place on television over, but are Christians, are they happy to be under Assad?
I just read an article. At The Economist, I just read an article. Listen, Bashar al-Assad ain't a nice guy, but who the hell is? Come on.
Yeah. Who the hell is a nice guy?
Yeah, come on. Who's in charge of a country that's a nice guy? Come on.
Yeah. I'm presumably a rhetorical question from Vinny there, but I appreciate the call. While it is time for America to beat on its chest again, I think Trump is a nice guy. He just watched 8 years of decay, got very frustrated, seized a moment. I maintain he's stunned by the election outcome, but as a guy who can't say no to a good challenge, doing the best he can, short-wicked, sure. Twitter proves, to be a stumbling block on occasion. I think he's a nice guy. You could be a tough guy and a nice guy at the same time. They can coexist. Let's go to Lou on line 4 if we've got time right now. I'd love to get your take on both Putin and Comey, Lou. If you want to throw them both together, feel free.
So this Vinnie Penn that I'm listening to covering on RKO, can we get him back in Connecticut?
He's still on Connecticut. And you can get him, go to vinniepenn.net, too. There's tons of stuff on my website. Brand new book coming out, even, next month.
He's demonstrating he can handle the politics.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Lou, but I don't know a damn thing about you. How do I know these accolades are from a guy I even want them from,
So your last caller, a little inartful when he said that who is a nice guy. The problem, I think what he meant to say is in that region, because it's a volatile region and they all have their issues.
Yeah,
but
good point.
I'm going to go to one of my favorite fallback positions, and that is the president reacted to something that he was handed to by none other than Barry O. And Barry O decided to finagle in the Middle East. And there's multiple issues going on simultaneously. There's definitely the energy component. You have the toppling of regimes component that Obama had no problem getting himself involved in which the left, you didn't hear a peep from. And then you have the religious aspect to it as well.
Yeah. Now, from what I saw this weekend, Lou, there are some Republicans, too, who are not necessarily celebrating Trump's move here and what they expect to be his follow-up. And that's disconcerting to me, this fracturing that's continuing. He's demonstrated everything I said on the campaign trail was not, I'm trying. I'm bringing it all back up. I keep bringing it all back up. Why are some Republicans straying and fraying?
Well, there's a couple different sets of Republicans. You have what I would call right. It's not just a matter of rhino or not, but you have a lot of animosity toward Trump in the Republican camp. But the president has a history of being anti-interventionist, particularly when it comes to the Middle East. He's been a vocal critic of our involvement in these wars. And there's a segment of the party that feels like they've been betrayed because, first it was the airstrike, 8 months ago, whatever it was. And now this latest foray into Syria. He had promised a pullout from the region, and this they feel that this doesn't bode well.
Yeah, and I also think it's cowardice. Look, I think at a time like this, and I get it to a degree, we're all at dinner parties or wherever we're at, and it's known in the room, hey, that's a Trump supporter, this and that, and some Republicans want to make it very clear. Yes, I'm a Republican, because this is a term I really despise. I'm not a Trump Republican, though. What the hell is that? What does that mean? You're not a Trump Republican?
Well, that means they're rhinos. They're establishment Republicans, the Bush, Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell wing of the party. I do believe that the president, in spite of all the factors that we discussed, was genuinely moved by the evidence he was given, the photographic evidence, the evidence from the
I do too.
The CIA and the French and the English.
Let me jump in there. And Lou, thanks for the call. I agree with you. And for him to be genuinely moved by it, going back to Russ's, or that Vinnie's comment, make him a nice guy. But then again, Lou did clear that up. He might have meant in that region. So many great calls to start off here. Again, it's Vinnie Penn filling in for Jeff on the Kuhner Report on the great RKO. Another break. We'll be right back.
WRKO.
Hey, it's Vinnie Penn filling in for Jeff on the Kuhner Report. WRKO. So excited to be with you this Patriots Day. We're at 617-266-6868. I'm loath to fall prey to the whole you wish this story would go away, you wish this person would go away, but you're doing exactly what they want. You're talking about it because I believe there is a degree of truth to that. These are ever-changing times. We have a former reality star running the country right now, and he's running it like a business, and he's his words are not hollow. And when he beats on his chest, it's because he believes a commander-in-chief should. So I find what James Comey's doing just so troublesome. and that this book is coming out, that this higher loyalty, that a former FBI director, I've got to circle back around to it. I'm looking at the top quotes. Do we have a giveaway, Jerry? Do we do the contest here? Because I could rattle off some quotes. See if you can tell which ones, because some of them are so outrageous. You might think I'm lying. As far as James Comey's concerned, a guy who he took an oath that doesn't come near the oaths that we took as Boy Scouts, as married folk, whatever oath we might have taken. One is, I liken President Trump to a forest fire. That's not made up. This is a former FBI, this is an Elliot Ness, less than a year later, shedding a skin in the most startling of ways. There's I always felt like writing a book was an exercise in ego. Am I joking? Am I making that up? Or is that a real one? Or how about this one? I smiled once. It's true. It was 1967. At my birthday party, there was a magician. Maybe that one's a little obvious. The whole, I always thought writing a book was an exercise in ego. He did say that. But he wrote the book. He exercised the ego. Some other really interesting quotes made to George Stephanopoulos is James Comey saying, going back to the forest fire point, they can give healthy things a chance to grow. That's legit. He really said that. I don't even know what it means. I don't even know how that's possible. He also said the book will be a major motion picture, too. We've locked down Bryan Cranston to star. No reaction there, Jared? That's a complete lie. Bryan Cranston is not playing James Comey.
It's so absurd. I had to think about it for a minute. I really did. I was like, oh, well.
Maybe. But you thought it was absurd. I was going for thinking it was possible. He seems like he might be able to pull that off. I could see Cranston pulling that off. Or maybe radio hosts shouldn't do things like this. The guy he was in Get Out. He was the girl's dad in Get Out. I don't know if you saw it. He'd be pretty good. He'd be a good Comey, too. The problem is Hollywood's elite. They're more outspoken than ever. And that's why Hollywood and publishing and politics, they've merged in a way where there are upsides and there are downsides. The downsides are they feel empowered to tell us what to boycott, to seize every moment they're on an interview show to peddle an agenda. And it's like, I just want to see your latest comedy. The upside for me, for us, for our country, is that it's merged enough that we don't hold it against them, the entertainer, to win a presidential election. But I suppose we already did that once with Reagan, did we not? How about his quote of classified information is nothing to be played with. And yet, you're peddling a tell-all. Isn't that exactly what you're doing? Again, it's Vinnie Penn sitting in for Jeff on the Kuhner Report on the great RKO.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 100.7 WZLX HD2 Boston, an iHeart radio station.